What if you could get the kind of wisdom that helps make multi-billion-dollar decisions, not just in finance, but, in almost every part of life?
Yeah, like ethical choices, everyday stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what if that wisdom from decades of really deep thinking was all in one book?
Sounds almost too good to be true, right?
It does. But that's pretty much the promise of Poor Charlie's Almanack, the famous book by the, legendary Charles T. Munger. So today, we're doing a deep dive. We're going to try and cut through the noise and give you a shortcut to some really crucial principles for sound judgment, straight from Munger.
Yeah, and this isn't just, some collection of stories or a dry business book. It's really a distillation. 6 decades of Munger's thinking, and it's remarkably interdisciplinary. It's like a blueprint for navigating, modern life.
Okay. And as we unpack the core ideas, the key takeaways from this incredible book, just a quick note for you listening. You are experiencing a unique 2-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM, which we hope allows for deeper, more dynamic book analysis. So let's start where Munger often does. This central idea he calls the lattice work of mental models. It sounds powerful, but what does he actually mean? How do you build that? Is it just reading a lot?
Well, what's fascinating is it's not just about collecting facts. Munger's talking about a very deliberate process.
Okay.
Drawing ideas from really different areas, physics, biology, psychology, economics, history, you name it. And then, crucially, you actively cross-pollinate them.
Cross-pollinate, like connect the dots between them.
Exactly. Building a mental structure, this lattice work, where an insight from, say, physics helps you understand something in economics better. He really believed this multidisciplinary approach is what enhances decision quality. It lets you see problems from, multiple angles, anticipate things better.
So it's like having a toolkit with tools from completely different trades, but you can use any of them on the problem at hand.
That's a great way to put it.
And the book itself, it seems to embody this idea, right? I mean, it's described as highly visual portraits, memorable quotes, those 11 big speeches.
Absolutely. It feels less like an investment manual and much more like a broad guide for good judgment. Not just about money, but ethics, how to approach life.
Yeah, and the book even frames Munger as a kind of modern Ben Franklin, doesn't it? Lawyer turned investor, known for his wit, frugality, philanthropy, shaping Berkshire Hathaway's culture.
Definitely. And to make these mental models concrete, he often points to other thinkers. Ben Franklin, obviously, for practical wisdom and self-improvement.
Right.
Or the mathematician Carl Gustav Jacobi. His ideas inspired Munger's concept of inversion.
Inversion, we'll have to get into that.
Oh, yeah. And people like Robert Cialdini on influence, even Charles Darwin. It shows these principles aren't just for one field, they cut across everything. Nature, human behavior, business.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting for anyone trying to make better choices. Munger spends a lot of time on the psychology of human misjudgment. We like to think we're rational, but he basically says our minds can actively trick us.
It raises that big question, how do our own minds lead us astray? And Munger, he lays out, I think it's 25 standard causes of misjudgment.
25? Wow.
Yeah, and they're not obscure things. They're recurring patterns deep in our psychology. Things like reward super response tendency. Think about, say, a salesperson maybe overlooking a small flaw in a product because their bonus depends on the sale. Or maybe an executive making a questionable call because their pay is tied to short-term stock prices.
Oh, okay. The incentive drives the behavior, maybe unconsciously.
Exactly. Or another one is consistency bias. That's where we stick with a bad decision or a failing project just because we already committed to it, even if new information tells us to stop.
Right, doubling down.
Precisely. And just knowing about these isn't really enough because they often work below the surface, Okay. But understanding them is vital because they can lead to what Munger calls Lollapalooza effects.
Lollapalooza effects.
Yeah, it's where multiple biases team up, often without us even noticing, and create this really powerful, usually negative outcome, like a perfect storm of bad judgment.
So it's not just one mistake, it's a cascade. And the book doesn't just list them, right? It digs into them.
Oh, absolutely. Chapter 4, which is based on his big 1995 Harvard speech, goes deep into these cognitive biases, lots of examples, explanations of how they work in the real world.
Practical stuff.
Very practical. And Munger, being Munger, includes appendices with checklists, ready-made checklists for decision makers to actually guard against these biases.
Checklists, okay.
Yeah, so they're actionable tools, not just theory. It's about designing your thinking process to fight your own blind spots.
So, okay, how does this translate into practical thinking for, us in our daily lives? Munger offers tools like inversion and checklist thinking. Can you break those down?
Sure. So inversion, connecting it back, is basically turning a problem on its head. Instead of asking, how do I succeed? You ask, how could I totally mess this up? How could I fail? Do I want to do that? Because thinking about how to fail and then avoiding those things often reveals hidden risks or obstacles you completely miss just thinking about success. It's a really powerful way to spot pitfalls.
Sort of like working backward from disaster?
Kind of, yeah. And checklist thinking. That comes from things like aviation safety, having predefined steps for complex decisions so you don't miss critical things, especially under pressure.
Right, like a pilot's pre-flight checklist. But couldn't that make you too rigid sometimes? Especially if things are moving fast.
That's a fair question. Munger would likely argue a good checklist isn't a straitjacket, it's a safety net. It makes sure you cover the essentials, which actually frees up your mind to think creatively about the unique parts of the situation, instead of forgetting something basic but critical.
Okay, that makes sense. It prevents the big, stupid mistakes. And the book really pushes these methods.
It does. Inversion pops up in several speeches, like Practical Thought about Practical Thought. And Chapter 2, The Munger Approach, specifically recommends both checklists and inversion as key parts of his worldview wisdom. They're definitely foundational for him.
Now, beyond the mental models and avoiding errors, there's this broader philosophy for life in the book, isn't there? What about continuous learning and ethics?
Absolutely central. Munger consistently pushes for lifelong learning. It's non-negotiable for him. His famous line, go to bed a little wiser than when they woke up, that really captures it.
I like that.
Yeah, and the book uses images, books, libraries, figures like Franklin to reinforce this idea. And importantly, he connects profit with virtue. He argues things like philanthropy and basic honesty aren't just morally right, they're actual competitive advantages. They build trust, lead to long-term success.
That idea of continuous learning, always trying to be a bit wiser, that really resonates. It's actually a core theme we explore over on Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel. We use AI for book analysis there too, aiming to inspire that kind of reflection and rational thought. It's all about building that foundation for clear thinking.
Mm-hmm. Solid foundation.
And it's fascinating how he links morality and practical success. That famous quote, show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. It sounds simple, but designing the right incentives without bad side effects seems incredibly hard in reality, right? How does he address that complexity?
You definitely hit on a core Munger point there. He sees capitalism as a moral system if it's balanced with enlightened self-interest and, crucially, smart incentive design.
Smart being the key word.
Right. His point isn't that perfect incentives are easy, but that bad incentives are incredibly destructive. He hammers on perverse reward, think stock options, encouraging short-term manipulation, and warns against any ideology, left or right, that ignores facts on the ground.
So, pragmatism over ideology.
Always. His speeches really champion meritocracy in education and this idea that we have a civic duty to compound knowledge for society's benefit. It actually sounds a lot like some of the effective altruism debates happening now. For Munger, ethics isn't just nice to have, it's practical. You have to constantly check your incentives, the ones you set for others, and the ones driving you to make sure they actually align with good outcomes.
Okay, so the book gathers 11 of his speeches.
Oh.
Are there specific talks that really stand out for showing these ideas in action? And what about the Mungerisms, those little quotable bits? Any favorites?
Well, each speech kind of layers real-world stories onto that same core toolkit. Be rational, think probabilistically, have an ethical compass, and never stop learning.
So they reinforce each other.
Definitely. For instance, his 1994 USC talk, A Lesson on Elementary Worldly Wisdom, is basically him walking through his mental model checklist, really practical. The 95 Harvard speech, as we said, is the deep dive on the 25 cognitive biases. Super insightful. Then there's the 2003 talk on the Great Financial Scandal, where he directly links bad incentives to accounting fraud, still relevant. And his critique of academic economics is a powerful warning against thinking in silos, ignoring insights from other fields. He saw that as just asking for trouble.
It sounds like each one offers a different angle on the same core wisdom. And the Mungerisms.
Yeah, the Best of Mungerisms chapter is gold.
Right.
Hundreds of these short, punchy sayings reinforcing the main themes. Rationality, avoiding bias, being patient but grabbing opportunities, the duty to be wise.
Any personal favorite that sticks out?
Oh, gosh. One I always liked, maybe because it captures that inversion idea so well, is all I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there.
Huh. Okay, yeah, that's memorable. It's funny, though, it makes you think.
Exactly. And the book's design itself, the big pages, the cartoons, the pull quotes, it's all meant to make the ideas more engaging, to make your mind reach out, as he put it. His writing style is very plain-spoken, humorous, uses these analogies. It makes really complex stuff feel much more accessible.
So this book, Poor Charlie's Almanack, it's clearly more than just speeches. It seems to have had a really significant impact. What's its lasting legacy?
Oh, huge. The Almanack basically took Munger's ideas, which were kind of scattered before, and turned them into this cohesive philosophy text. It really fueled the whole modern mental models movement you see everywhere now, business schools, blogs, decision science courses.
So it became a foundational text.
Absolutely. Warren Buffett famously called it a publishing miracle because it was never advertised but just kept selling year after year. And there was that Stripe Press abridged version recently in 2023 that brought it to a whole new tech audience, too.
It's still relevant, then.
Very. Plus, the proceeds go to the Munger Research Center at the Huntington Library, so its impact extends beyond just finance into broader scholarship. It ensures the wisdom keeps, well, compounding.
So, wrapping up our deep dive on Poor Charlie's Almanack, it really is a blueprint for sound judgment, isn't it? Applicable way beyond just investing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a powerful reminder, I think, that if you combine rational analysis, a strong ethical core, and that kind of interdisciplinary curiosity, you really can hope to, as Munger said, go to bed a little wiser than when they woke up.
So, a final thought for you listening. How could you start building your own latticework of mental models? Maybe starting today. What's one new field, one different discipline you could explore, even just for an hour? Something that might unlock a new way of thinking or maybe help you spot a potential misjudgment down the road.
Yeah, great question. And for more insights like this, to keep building that foundation for reflection and rational thought, do check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. And explore our podcasts too. Click the link you see on screen for an in-depth summary of the book. Please subscribe, share it if you found it useful, consider purchasing this fantastic book through the link, and maybe, most importantly, keep thinking critically.